for the EVA. They'll also be returning the portable foot restraint that had the heat shield removed to the outside of the space station. You'll see that stowed on the outside of the toolboxes on the airlock. From there, Al will translate over to external stowage platform number 2, where he'll begin preparations to vent the failed pump module. He'll be venting 10 pounds of ammonia from this pump module. He'll ingress the portable foot restraint. He'll open up the thermal blanket on the front of the pump module and throw the bail. We expect the pump module to vent in about 10 seconds, but we'll have the bail open for 2 minutes just to make sure we get any residual ammonia out. From there, he'll begin cleaning up the work site. He'll gather up the vent tool and vent tool extender, put them in the appropriate bags. He'll then return those bags to their permanent stowage location on the top of the airlock, or the zenith portion of the U.S. airlock. Here you can see Al stowing those bags in their permanent home. From there, Al will translate out to Express Logistics Carrier number 4. There he'll be removing a thermal blanket that you see here in the view. This thermal blanket was required for launch, but now that ELC-4, or Express Logistics Carrier number 4, is receiving power from the space station, this blanket is no longer required. You see him here in the neutral buoyancy lab rolling that blanket up and stowing it in its bag. Meanwhile, Steve will be setting up the space station robotic arm from the Columbus module. He'll be installing a portable foot restraint. From there, he'll ingress the portable foot restraint and get ready to remove the lightweight adapter plate assembly, or LAWAPA as we call it. Once he backs away from the work site, he'll rotate it 180 degrees. This is part of a materials science experiment. The other 2 pieces of this experiment were already returned. This is the final piece of the experiment and contains about 10% of the data. He'll then ride the robotic arm to the shuttle payload bay, where he'll install it on the sidewall carrier, and he'll drive a single bolt to secure it in place. From there, he'll ride the space station robotic arm over to Dextre. Once he arrives at Dextre, he'll be installing a camera. This camera will complete the outfitting of Dextre as the final component required to make it complete. He'll then ride the robotic arm over to remove a thermal blanket from Dextre. This blanket was required to maintain thermal temperatures during launch, but now if Dextre is working particularly hard on a given day, this blanket could cause temperatures to get a little higher than we'd like, so we're removing it. From there, he'll ride the robotic arm back over to the Columbus module. Once it's the Columbus module, he'll remove the portable foot restraint from the arm. And he'll translate back up to the zenith part of Columbus, where he'll stow the portable foot restraint. He'll then translate back down to the robotic arm one more time, where he'll be installing a lens cover on one of the cameras. This lens cover will protect the camera from the plume of visiting vehicles. As we translate here over the Node 2 Zenith port, we see that there is a common berthing mechanism there. That's where HTV will be attached during the mission. We're now flying over to Al's next work site. He'll be installing a light. This light will illuminate the solar alpha rotary joint during night passes when EVA crew members are working in this area. Next, Al will translate up to the zenith part of the port truss. There he'll be resecuring a thermal booty over a fluid quick disconnect. This was noticed to be out of configuration. He will reinstall this booty to make sure the fluid quick disconnect stays within thermal limits. He'll then translate down to the nadir side, where he'll be troubleshooting 2 radiator grapple stow beams. These beams are used to stow a contingency piece of equipment in case a radiator change-out is required. When these beams were installed on STS-133, they did not seat down as expected, so I will be going through some troubleshooting steps to make sure those get secured. From there, he'll head over to Node 3 and remove a thermal blanket. There are 2 connectors under this thermal blanket, which creates a tent. There's some concern that the area under this tent can get too hot, so that blanket is going to be removed as it's no longer required. From there, both crew members will move into their final task for this EVA. Steve will translate over to Dextre, where he'll be installing a lens cover on one of Dextre's camera. This again will protect this camera lens from visiting vehicle plumes. Al will be installing a similar lens cover on the payload ORU accommodation, or POA as we call it, attached to the mobile transporter. Once that's complete, both crew members will translate back to the U.S. joint airlock and finish up EVA2.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, that was an overview of the second spacewalk that is planned for this mission. Again, that is going